Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 254, which is part 26 of the Shinjuku Showdown, starts off back at the initial fight between Sukuna and Kusakabe as they face off against each other. Kusakabe immediately activates his simple domain, Evening Moon Sword, in this really nice panel that outlines his domain. And this is similar to the panel with Gojo and makes me wish Gege employed these interesting panels more often because they add such a nice sense of style. Sukuna questions Kusakabe's motive on drawing his sword against his slashes, and Kusakabe goes on to think to himself that a simple domain can cancel out the curse technique in a domain or barrier, but it can't neutralize it. However, even though it's basic, it's still a domain. Sukuna then aims a dismantle slash, and Kusakabe grabs the hilt of his blade, continuing to think that inside his domain his own technique rises while Sukuna's weakens, and he draws his sword parrying the slash from Sukuna. But also, when it comes to his domain, he can automatically intercept anything that intrudes into it, and he sheaths his sword, and even Sukuna compliments his good reflexes. Kusakabe then states that so far he's been primarily parrying Sukuna's slashes through guesswork and locating the source of the cursed energy, but the domain now should be better. Suddenly, he's hit with a slash out of nowhere that he just barely blocks, sending it flying and destroying the bridge behind him. And as the bridge collapses, Kusakabe thinks how scary that was since it was a cursed technique activation without any motion. Meaning, Sukuna didn't even have to move his hands to activate the slash, and I think this ties a lot more into the Maharaga fight in the anime, as sometimes Sukuna was animated to create a slash without actually moving his hand in a certain direction. Sukuna laughs and jokes that he'll hit him next time, and Kusakabe then prepares himself for the slash that cuts the world. Then we get a mini flashback where the interview from a few chapters ago on who is the strongest grade 1 sorcerer continues. Mei says that in terms of horsepower, Nanami and her are in fact stronger, and Nanami says it's more that he can't see Kusakabe losing more than he can see him winning. But with this, they both do say that Kusakabe is an excellent swordsmith who's versatile and has incredible knowledge about Jujutsu. And even past Gojo chimes in, saying he's got a couple of trump cards, one of them being Simple Domain, which Kusakabe can use effectively without a binding vow, as well as having a secret super wide range, and then Gojo just slips on his drink. But before we get into the rest of the chapter, if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe, it really helps my small channel grow. Also, I've made a Patreon and it's in the description below, support me if you'd like. Back to the battle, Kusakabe finally extends his simple domain, enveloping Sukuna's position, and Sukuna notes that Kusakabe has broadened his curse technique, and then past Mei pops in again, explaining that his new Shadow Style sword drawing first counters to draw the opponent in, and then expands the domain to envelop the opponent. And then with the addition of Kusakabe's program, in which anything that enters the domain is targeted, nothing can stop his slashes. And Mei then goes on to say that when attacking, grade 1 sorcerers without a technique fight with their backbone and not their mind, and those they strike down don't stand a chance. Now, so far, this sounds very hopeful. Kusakabe is getting the glazing he finally deserves, but I think we all know where this is going. The least we can do is let him have his moment. Kusakabe immediately leaps forward and unleashes a barrage of slashing attacks that shreds into Sukuna's skin, who stands there taking it. And past Nanami even pops in and says he doesn't know anyone who can withstand it, apart from Gojo of course. But suddenly the sword shatters, and in a moment's glance, Kusakabe throws his coat to Sukuna, wrapping it around his face. And Sukuna reaches out and cuts it to pieces, but Kusakabe is already out of the way, kicking him hard. Sukuna is sent flying through a nearby causeway in a seriously impressive feat of strength from Kusakabe, and while he catches up they enter into a fist fight. Kusakabe then wonders why he's fighting just so hard, and within his thoughts, this is where we get reminded of just how sad Kusakabe's family life is. He blames Principal Yaga since he owes him, but continues thinking that while he's dead, he can only imagine what he would say, but deeply knows that Yaga would never have not let him see his younger sister and nephew Takeru, even if he didn't risk his life. And Takeru was turned into a cursed corpse by Yaga in order to keep him alive, and Kusakabe's sister was the one bound in a wheelchair in chapter 147, which was just a really sad chapter, and this callback kind of breaks my heart. Kusakabe then continues to think that Yaga might look sad, not because he didn't risk his life, but because he couldn't fight alongside him. And the final message from his fellow grade 1 sorcerers as well as Gojo explain that the reason they support Kusakabe is because he is kind-hearted. And as we return to the fight, Kusakabe explains he's done thinking. Everyone else is culling game players, so if he stops, Sukuna will just kill them. Kids have risked their lives in this fight, and as an adult, he should do no less. He then imbues his blade with cursed energy and activates his new shadow style Hazy Moon into his katana, striking hard at Sukuna. But Sukuna just stands there with the sword between two of his fingers and says that since Kusakabe was aiming for his injured heart, he was just too easy to read. Kusakabe curses and a thud rings out as it's revealed to be Kusakabe covered in slashes lying on the floor. Uiui suddenly teleports in, shouting Kusakabe's name, aiming to grab him and take him away, but Sukuna immediately appears behind the boy, complaining that it's starting to get annoying. Uiui reacts in surprise before the screen goes black. However, lucky for us, Uiui's body isn't there in place of the giant slashes in the ground, and Sukuna looks up and says he doesn't recognize him, and him is revealed to be Miguel holding Uiui in his arms. Miguel says Sukuna doesn't belong here, and Uiui jokes about Miguel being late to the party. But that's not important right now, as the chapter ends with a new challenger ready for the slaughter. This is genuinely just going in circles now. Someone new appears, fights Sukuna a little bit one-on-one, and then dies. Genuinely, who's left? Miguel's definitely not going to do much against Sukuna, so who's after that? At this point, every human being is going to be recruited, and I'm going to be recruited at this way. It's just one after another to the chopping block, and I have no idea how they're going to beat Sukuna. Like, genuinely. It's now coming to the end of the video, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy you stopped by. My channel is steadily growing, and I'm amazed at the support I'm getting. And I also have a Patreon now, so feel free to support me however you like. The link will be in the description, and I will shout out names at the end of each video. Thank you again, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.